Welcome to Love Stories from the Bible, Part 3. The first podcast we looked at Amnon and Tamar, and then this last one we looked at the love story between Jacob and Rachel, how he pursued Rachel for 14 years and why we should never give up on our loved ones. Today we're going to look at Samson. A song called Hello, written by Adele, became very popular a few years back. Within few hours, several million hits was recorded in YouTube. That song is all about a broken heart. Hello, the song lyrics goes like this: hello from the other side, I must have called 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry for everything that I've done. But when I call, you never seem to be never seem to be home. Hello from outside, at least I can say that I've tried to tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart, but it don't matter, it clearly doesn't tear you apart anymore. We all like love stories, don't we? We've been taught Snow White, Cinderella, and the Frog Prince. These are all stories of a prince or a handsome person fighting for the princess and marrying the princess in the end, and then they lived happily ever after. That's how we've been taught about love. This song, written by Adele, is all about a broken heart who put the trust in the boyfriend and girlfriend. Their heart was broken because of the hurt in the relationship. And when we grow older, we realize the love we've been taught is not the same love that we experience in this world. And when you talk about love, it's impossible to not talk about Samson in the Bible. Samson had a great calling. He had a great purpose in his life. He was called to be the judge of Israel, and God gave him a mission to protect Israel from this enemies. He was chosen by God, and he was given special powers and strength by God to accomplish his mission. The Bible says, sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Surek, whose name was Delilah. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, see if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him so that we may tie him up and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver. In this sad story, what Samson thought as love was not love. And what you think as love sometimes may not be real love. It can become your weakness. And if you have a breath in your nose, you have a calling, purpose in this life. Every one of us have got a calling and purpose. And if you have a purpose in your life, there is an enemy who's bent on stopping that purpose, stopping you from fulfilling that purpose. And this enemy is always after your weakness. And sometimes what you think as love can become your weakness, and the enemy can exploit that weakness. And that's what happened in the life of Samson. In the life of Samson, it was Delilah. Delilah was Samson's weakness, and Samson's enemy cunningly approached his weakness and asked her if she can lure him. And that's how the enemy operates. He is always after your weakness, that weak link in your life. And Samson's story has a lot of tragedies. And one of the tragedy was that Samson thought Delilah is loving him. Even after many alarm bells, many red lights in their relationship, he never understood that Delilah was not truly in love with him. Isn't that true? They say love is blind. He ignored all the alarm bells and thought Delilah was still in love. Ever thought that someone loves you and you got fooled in your life? You know how the story ended. And I don't want to go into this detail in the story. The Bible says, after putting him to sleep, that's Samson, After putting him to sleep on her lap, she called for someone to shave off the 7 braids of his hair, and so began to subdue him, and his strength left him. That's one of the tragedy. The one who was chosen to protect Israel was sleeping in Delilah's lap, in his enemy's lap. When I read this story every time, I feel like asking, what are you doing, Samson? You're supposed to drive the enemy out of your land, but you're sleeping in your enemy's lap. And some of you need to check if you're fulfilling God's purpose in your life, if you're in the center of God's will in your life, or are you sleeping in your enemy's lap, figuratively speaking? Who's bent on stopping you from fulfilling God's purpose in your life? Stop sleeping in your enemy's lap and start fulfilling God's purpose for your life. Sin is like a spiral. At first you think you're having a little play, then a little closer, then a bit more closer. Finally you end up in the stomach of the snake you've been playing with. Sin thrills you, and in the end it kills you. Sin fascinates you, and in the end it assassinates you. Don't play with sin. And if you have even a very faintest and slightest inclination, it's wrong. Run away from it. Feelings can be deceptive. Tiger Woods said, after he was caught in several extramarital affairs, he said, I felt that I had worked hard my entire life and deserved to enjoy all the temptations around me. I felt I was entitled. Thanks to money and fame, I didn't have to go far to find them. I was strong, I was foolish. That was one of the most popular and one of the richest sportsperson in this world. He said, I was wrong, I was foolish. That's what money and fame will do. Maybe you feel like you've been betrayed by someone you loved, just like Samson was betrayed by Delilah. Samson thought that Delilah was in love till the end, and he was betrayed. You thought someone was in love with you, but that person showed you the true colors. We looked at the story of Amnon and Tamar in the first podcast. Amnon became so obsessed with his sister Tamar that he had made himself ill. The Bible says she was a virgin, and it seemed impossible for him to do anything to her. And he was so obsessed. He was so madly in love, so-called love, with his half sister Tamar. And you read that story further, and he cunningly planned and he raped her. And the Bible says, after a few verses later, this is what the Bible says. Then Amnon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. Amnon said to her, get up and get out. The same mouth that said to you that you're beautiful, you're adorable, you're handsome, you're pretty, will one day hurt you and curse you. This is the world we live in. But God's love will not disappoint you. You need to pursue God's love and not worldly love. No one in this world can satisfy that longing in your heart except God. If you put your trust in the worldly love, you will feel betrayed at some point in your life, because no one in this world is perfect. We all have our weaknesses. You will get hurt by the love you are pursuing. But the Bible says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. See, God's love will never betray you. God's love will never disappoint you. God's love is unfailing. God's love is relentless. It pursues you. And Jesus Christ knows the pain of betrayal. He was betrayed by his very best friend. And he says to you today that no matter what others have done to you, his love for you will never change. Christ's love will never change for you. He died, and He took your place on the cross, and He died and shed His blood for you, so that you can know God's eternal love, the love that completes you. All the time you have been pursuing that perfect love. This world cannot fulfill that perfect love. This world cannot give you that perfect love. There's no perfect love in this world. Everyone is flawed. At some point you'll get disappointed. At some point you'll get hurt. You need to fill your heart with godly love, the love that what only Christ can fill your heart with. And Christ's love will make you complete. You don't have to pursue people after people. When Christ's love comes into your heart, it makes you whole. You feel satisfied, and it stops that longing. And you learn to live for God, and you learn to love others. You will learn to even pray for people who hurt you. You will learn to forgive others. And that's what God's love will do to you. So don't run after worldly love and get disappointed. And if you've been betrayed and fooled by the people who said they love you, let's come to God. Let's surrender our hearts to God and accept that the love of Christ in our hearts. And God will give us strength to forgive those people who hurt us. And God will help us to live a life that's worthy of His calling. I hope that's an encouragement for you. Thanks for watching, and God bless.